up, nerds? My name is Leslie Smith. Welcome to the Nerdy Narrative. January has come and gone. Today, I'm going to be doing my monthly wrap-up. That's all the things that I read in the month of January, except for short stories. That one has its own dedicated wrap-up that I believe is coming out next week. And I will never wait and do all of my short stories in one wrap-up. I'm going to start including those in my weekly reading wrap-up because that got crazy. Let's start with Deeply Personal by Alexis Macaluso. This was published by Spooky House Press. Alexis, over the years, has looked at personal ads for some reason or another, whether she was buying something, looking for a job, or odd jobs. Whatever the reason, she saw a lot of really funny personal ads and she just kind of filed those away in the back of her mind. Since she is also an illustrator, she had the idea of taking some of these really hilarious personal ads that she's seen in different places on the internet, and she drew an illustration to go with the ad. This was such a delightful read. She did say that this was not all of the funny ads that she's seen over the years. I really hope this becomes a series. I also read a couple of manga that I checked out from my library. Both were by Junji Ito. The first one was his collection called Frankenstein. I really loved this collection. Of course, the title story, his retelling of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, was the standout of this collection. As a matter of fact, it's the standout of his work that I've read so far. I absolutely loved it. I loved how he portrayed the sadness, the solitary, just the aloneness of Frankenstein's monster. It was absolutely fantastic. The other that I read by him was Remina. This one started out extremely strong. I thought, okay, this is going to be my favorite Junji Ito. He did not stick the landing. I just did not like the ending. I know that he writes weird and strange stories, but it just had such a powerful first and second acts, and then the last couple of chapters just ruined it for me. Next, let's pop into the science fiction category. I read All Systems Red by Martha Wells, the first book in her Murderbot Diary series. Absolutely loved it. I'm very disappointed in myself for putting this series off for so long, but on the flip side of that, there are several in this series that are currently out, and they're on Kindle Unlimited. Next, in the thriller/horror section, I read In the Hills Above the Grist Mills by Calvin Ellis. It was my first read of the year. It was a standout read for me. I love this story. It is the first book in his Paisley Mott mystery series. It was fantastic, and it was his debut novel. I was floored. Absolutely adored it. It's about Paisley Mott, who is a YouTuber. Her channel is called Paranormal or Not with Paisley Mott. A reverend in a tiny town in the mountains of Kentucky contacts Paisley, wants her to come out and cover this rash of murders that are happening. Now he believes, and what he wants her to prove, is that it is Sasquatch. Do not call this thing Bigfoot in the Reverend's presence. In fact, the religious leanings of his church center around Sasquatch. Now Paisley is thinking, if I should happen to catch something, this could really jumpstart my career. So Paisley packs it up, heads to Kentucky to see what she can help uncover. It was such a good story. I buddy read it with my friend Sharon Dwyer, and we both just loved this book. Cannot wait for the next one to come out. Continuing in that genre, I read Night of the Mannequins by Stephen Graham Jones, who is an absolute all-time favorite author of mine. This novella was so fun. This story to me was about teen angst, but it is teen angst wrote well. I normally cannot stand reading about teen angst because I just feel a lot of times authors kind of lean into that a little too heavily. The story is about a group of 5 friends that have been best friends since they were kids. They are now teenagers. You know, I saw myself in this group. I saw my friends in this group. The things they said and did, characters just really resounded with me, and it felt so authentic. I will stop there, except for to read you the first line of this novella. So Shayna got a new job at the movie theater. We thought we'd play a fun prank on her, and now most of us are dead, and I'm really starting to feel kind of guilty about it all. That's what I'm going to leave you with. Just an excellent, fun read. And then to close out that genre, I have the Bachman books here by Stephen King. All 4 novellas are included here in this copy. Rage is the one that has been since removed. So if you purchase this new, it's going to be missing Rage because it is about a school shooting. The next novella is called The Long Walk, and it is about this sort of lottery of teenage boys who they compete and they are walking and they keep walking until for some reason or another, there's only one left. That's all I'm going to tell you. It's all about the journey. The next one is Road Work, which is about a man who lives in a community. He works nearby, and the city exercises eminent domain. They are making them all move. The business hit the neighborhood so they can put a new highway through there. And then the final one is called The Running Man, and it's a real life game show. It feels like it's a time where the world is kind of a police state. It's just locked down, and you can get money for your family by participating in life or death games. Out of the 4, Rage is my favorite. It was such a phenomenal story, well written, great message. The next one would be The Running Man. The Long Walk was too long, which I know that's funny to say in a novella. We reached the climax, and then Stephen King just kind of stretched it out a little too far after. And then Road Work, I really thought was going to be my favorite. Strong beginning, then it had a whole section that literally, in my opinion, did not move the plot forward. It did nothing with it. If you removed that whole section and read what was left, you have everything you need to know for that story. And at that point, it would have been a phenomenal story. So that really just took me out because I was constantly going, this has no bearing on the story. This has no value whatsoever. And then The Running Man, I just loved. It was heart pounding the entire time. My adrenaline was just going. I read that one the fastest of the 4. And then the rest is all fantasy. So let's go with my reread of Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. I am going to be working my way through the realm of the Elderlings over this year. I started with my reread of Assassin's Apprentice. Still a top tier read for me, but in a different way. I focused on a couple of things that happened in this one the first time I read it. Those things made me angry and very sad and just heartbroken, and I missed the whole point of this story. The second time I read it, I was so much more focused and honed in on the main character, Fitz Chilvery. I was just so invested in Fitz as a character. This whole book just felt like a character study of this child. Phenomenal. Cannot wait to keep going. I finished the 3rd and final book in Mike Shell's Iconoclast series. Andrew from Andrew's Wizardly Reads, he and I had a live show with Mike Shell, which I will link down in the description box below. We did try to keep it spoiler free for as long as we could, so if you want to see if this trilogy is one you might be interested in, I'm going to direct you to that, because it's the 3rd book in the series. If you haven't read the first 2, me talking to you about this one, I enjoyed it. It was a great ending. I wish it had been a little bit of a different plot. All 3 books are quest-based. You have your quest that forms, and then they get ready, and then there's the journey, and then you have the final boss fight, basically. All 3 followed that same pattern, and I was kind of over that by the time I got to this one, but it was still a great story. I'm going to go ahead and cut to something I say for the end, which is my favorite read of the month, The Girl in the Tower, Book 2 in Catherine Arden's Winter Night Trilogy. This is my favorite read of the month. And yes, there is an Amber Crombie this month. She beat that one out because there were so many chapters in this book I reread before I could move forward because they were so beautiful, or they just had such meaning, or I just had such a good time visualizing it that I wanted to read it again and just cement that vision in my mind. This was amazing. First book in the series was a top tier read. This one is even better. Guys, if you've never read the Winter Night Trilogy, highly recommend. This trilogy will be an annual reread for me. And then, since I've already mentioned it, I read The Wisdom of Crowds by Joe Abercrombie, the last book that is currently out in the First Law world. Amazing. This book tied in all of the previous books. I had no idea how it was going to end. None. And the way that he did it astounded me, surprised me. Every book he wrote had surprises. I just kept thinking, all right, I've got a good feel for Abercrombie. I know what he's gonna do. And he tricked me time and time again. I loved that. I love that he was able to do that for me. You know, his writing style feels so familiar to me, but he is still able to get me, and I loved it. I loved it. It just could not have been better. It couldn't have been better. You know, the nice thing about Joe Abercrombie is he's such a good writer that I never go into his books with any expectations because I know I'm going to have a good time. All right, my last two books that I read in the month of January are both by new to me authors. The first one being The Bone Maker by Sarah Beth Durst, another buddy read with my friend Sharon. It started out a good book. It turned out to be a really great book. The friend group in this one was so good. I loved reading about them. They felt genuine. It wasn't just one of those, oh, the crew just gets back together, everybody's always been happy. No, there were problems, there were issues. They didn't just get past them or get over them quickly. They worked them out. Not only that, the bone magic. You know, it's called the Bone Maker, which is only one type of bone workers there were. You've got bone makers, bone wizards, bone readers. Like, there's so many different things and different types of magic and abilities they each have. But what happens here is, in this one, our main character, Kreia. Kreia is an older bone maker, and she starts out just breaking the law. Yeah, they have laws. They have a bone guild, and there are laws around what they can do, and she's breaking the law. And she kind of breaks it a little bit and then realizes she needs some more stuff. What do you do when you are criminally intent on doing something you're not supposed to? Well, you go get your best friend to go do it with you. And then what happens? Well, it all hits the fan, doesn't it? It's such a good book. I just loved it. And then the final new to me author is Kristen Britton. This was also my final read of January. I read Green Rider, which is the first book in the Green Rider series. I will have to be honest and say I did not like this one at first. The writing style was very simplistic. I was like, this is kind of third grade, but it changed. After about 3 or 4 chapters in, the writing style did change. It got better. But even so, I thought, okay, this is a YA book, right? Oh, no, no, no. There is some dark stuff that happens here. The bulk of the story is political intrigue, which I love. We have a magic system with both black magic and I would say white magic, but in this case it's green magic. You know, and what was funny when I got this book to read it, I was like, oh wow, this guy on the back looks so cool. He looks so much cooler than her. I want to know about him. No, 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 no. No, that guy needs to take a hike. But it's a really fun story where a girl who gets expelled and decides she's gonna hightail it home and tell her dad her side of the story before the messenger gets there. Except she encounters a Green Rider who comes out of the woods. He has become a pincushion for somebody that shoots black arrows. Kerrigan, our main character, she realizes quickly he's a Green Rider who is a messenger for the king. The guy is clearly dying and he's like, I need you to swear to me you will get this message to the king. And so Kerrigan, caught up in the moment, says, of course. There was so much good stuff here. There were some really interesting magical objects that I loved learning about and reading about. Don't know how I missed this one when it came out. I was into fantasy then. I mean, I was already deep off into A Song of Ice and Fire, The Wheel of Time, The Sword of Truth. I don't know how I missed this one, but I'm so glad that I jumped in on the read along that was hosted by Feeny Reads for this series. Guys, that is it. Those are all the books that I read in the month of January. I had a lot of top tier reads, but like I mentioned, The Girl in the Tower takes the #1 favorite of the month read for me. I don't know if the third book in the trilogy is gonna be able to top it. There's only one way to find out. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.